Hey Walrus fans, after a way too long hiatus, I, your host, the fabulous Thewalrusclown, am back and I'm here with that review that all of you voted for me to do forever ago. The Fairly Odd Parents, but first a disclaimer. Butch Hartman has proven himself to be a complete douche canoe, but any controversies thereof will not be discussed in this review. That would be unfair to all the other people who worked on the show, and besides, that's what Saberspark is for. Anywho, I'll see you off the title card. Honor, roll it! As with always, let's start with the technicals. The Fairly Odd Parents is a cartoon that originally aired its pilot on Oh Yeah, What a Cartoon, where it was greenlit for a series that aired on March 30th, 2001, and is about a 10-year-old boy named Timmy Turner who gets fairly odd parents named Cosmo and Wanda after his life becomes a living nightmare after being criminally neglected by his parents and physically abused by his babysitter Vicky. Along the way, they introduced a really strong group of side characters with plenty of potential for character development. Among them were his two best friends, Chester, the poor kid everyone knew growing up, and AJ, the smart kid. Timmy's unrequited crush, Trixie the popular rich girl, Vicky's kid sister Tootie, who had an unrequited crush on Timmy, head fairy Jorgen von Strangle, and many, many more. It lasted until July 26th, 2017, after it went on for way too long, and a combination of the status quo being God, and them having to introduce new characters to just keep the show on life support until it finally ended with a whimper despite the show's strong first 5 seasons and several specials. The moment many fans point to being the show's jumping the shark moment was when they had a special where it's revealed that fairies give birth like seahorses, and the males give birth. Cosmo gets pregnant and gives birth to a baby Poof, and thus starting the trend of them pulling new characters to add to the main cast out of their asses to keep the show afloat because the writers were allergic to character development and acknowledging what happened in previous episodes, I guess. Anywho, after they exhaust every plot you could possibly do with a magic baby who cannot talk, they dump him at fairy daycare and we rarely see him after that. And they do yet another special where Timmy wants a pet and they adopt a fairy dog named Sparky who can talk because that was clearly the only problem with Pooh. They proceed to make Sparky as annoying as possible. After they exhaust every plot they can do with him, they shove him into the background and we hardly see him after that. Then, the death knell for the show finally happens and the fairies have too many kids to keep happy and now more than one kid have to share fairy godparents, and they introduce Timmy's Mary Sue step-god sister Chloe, who gets fairy godparents for the most superfluous reason in the fact that she isn't the second coming of Christ that she makes herself out to be, and messes up sometimes and has to live with the consequences just like everyone else does. Unlike the brat and the dog, there are ways to make Chloe work, like having the thing making her be miserable enough to need fairy godparents be that her perfection makes it so everyone cozies up to her to get something out of her so she doesn't have any real friends. So Jorgen hooks her up with Timmy because having to share his godparents means he would hate her at first and they would have to get to know each other instead of him buttering her up to get something. Or maybe have her pursuit of perfection be the result of her fear of failure and Jorgen assigns her Cosmo and Wanda so she could learn that failure isn't the end of the world through Timmy, who can't so much as tie his shoes without something going wrong. To keep things fair, let's go over a few episodes, both good and bad. For our first good episode, we are doing the body swap episode, Manic Mom Day, because it ties into the first bad episode and why it's bad. That, and I've done a story where Timmy and Trixie switch bodies over on my body swap channel, Card in the Corner. I know, shameless self-promotion. Anywho, after the initial incident where Timmy's mom tries to get him to the bus on time, they get into the standard for this type of plot, whose life is harder spat, with Timmy making a bet with Wanda that he couldn't handle living his mom's life. So their bodies are swapped and Timmy's mom, who we would just be calling Mom for the rest of the video, doesn't freak out or anything because she was reading a childcare book that said to envision your child's day, and she just thinks she's really good at it. Look, even in the good episodes, everyone is stupid. Don't question it. Anywho, Timmy uses Mom's credit card to buy things, only for Wanda to remind him that he has to literally live her life by putting her day planner in front of his face and having it explode everywhere. And after starting to clean, we cut to Mom on the bus, who manages to keep the usual beatings Timmy gets from Francis from happening by helping him with his emotional problems throughout the episode. Then they keep this pattern up with Timmy being miserable and Mom raising Timmy's social standings and helping Crocker cope with his own mother being the same kind of neglectful shrew Timmy's parents are to him, and even managing to rizz up Trixie for a moment. You are all not allowed to draw pics of Trixie and Timmy's mom getting it on. Trixie's only 10 years old for Christ's sake. Rethink your lives, you degenerates. Anywho, after the school day is over, Timmy loses the bet and admits to Wanda that he can't hack it, and the two reunite and swap back. Mom cleans up Timmy's mess, and we get a repeat of a gag where Timmy's dad gets an electric eel to the face instead of a kiss from his wife's body. We're not allowed to draw anything lewd involving Timmy and his dad. See my previous statement about Trixie and Mom, only to add incest on top of that to make it worse. Rethink your lives before I call Chris Hansen on a lot of you, you degenerates. It was a good episode. There were a few flukes. It could be argued that the writers made Mom's life seem harder than it really was, because they did. Her job as a real estate agent is never brought up, but I am willing to let it slide because it knew how to tell a joke. Now for the bad episode. The most common type of bad Fairly OddParents episode is them redoing concept of an older episode and rehashing it in a worse way. And the episode we are going to use for our example of this is the season 10 episode where Timmy and Chloe switch bodies, Witch's Wish. Anywho, the episode starts with Timmy not wanting to help his dad clean out the garage and Chloe wanting to participate in a hamburger eating contest to raise money in a charity event, but can't because she's vegan, because of course the spoiled selfish brat trying to masquerade as a Mary Sue is vegan. Anywho, they wish to switch places and Cosmo switches their bodies, and instead of using this to poke fun of or make a statement about societal expectations about gender, or have a classic gag where one of them goes into the bathroom and blushes, or anything involving switching to the opposite gender, aka something that the Timmy mom body swap never touched, they do scenes of them doing the things that they said they would do, as in Timmy as Chloe eating at a hamburger eating contest for charity, and Chloe as Timmy being more OCD than Twilight Sparkle organizing the garage. And after they reunite, they come up with contrived nonsense to not switch them back immediately. This takes the form of Cosmo accidentally throwing their wands away in the trash. Then, after some lazy gags about how they can't live the other's life, their parents noticed unusual behavior, meet each other, blame the other kid for the unusual behavior, and the two of them come up with a cross-dressing scam to try and fool the parents into not making against the rules to hang out with each other. More unfunny shenanigans happen from there. Wanda finds their wands, they switch back, episode ends. I could have forgiven it for the recycled plot if they did something new with it or at least were funny. But in addition to plot recycling, the writers feel like they were just going through the motions. And for the sake of keeping this review of reasonable length, I will start summarizing the general trend of what makes a good or bad episode in the Fairly OddParents. And nothing said applies to any Chloe episodes because there are no good Chloe episodes. All her episodes fall under the been there, done that, just going through the motions episodes as explained in the Witch Wish go-over. Anywho, as far as good episodes are concerned, they're at their best when they stick to their generalized formula. That being, Timmy has problem, Timmy witches up solution to problem, wish goes awry, hilarity ensues, problem gets solved. There are exceptions, but for the most part, OddParents is at its best when it concentrates on being funny and nothing else. Sure, there are exceptions, and they rarely fumble the landing when they use your garden variety eat your veggies morals when they need an Aesop for a story. But all the problems start when they try to be topical. Anything involving sex, gender, or anything involving a more complicated than your well-worn eat your veggie stuff instantly fails. The episode It's a Wishful Life being a good example, where, in an obvious homage to the It's a Wonderful Life movie, Timmy wishes to not exist because he feels unappreciated, and the episode seems to want to punish him for wanting a simple thank you after doing something nice for someone, or the one episode where Timmy wishes that men and women were separated permanently by a wall separating the eastern and western hemispheres, where it does nothing but rely on negative gender stereotypes and says that all men fit into this box, all women fit into this other box because there is only one way to be a man or a woman. See why this is problematic? At the end of the day, The Fairly OddParents was a fun cartoon that just went on for way too long. And like SpongeBob before it, Nick just doesn't seem to want to let it die, with a scrubbed from the internet live-action sequel and a new time-jumped animated sequel soon to come. Here's hoping they actually manage to surprise everyone and actually succeed in making it good instead of making a corporately mandated, soulless cash grab. Anywho, I'm the Walrusclown, and the Free Willy cartoon is up next. And to answer your next question, yes, they made a Free Willy animated series. See you then, and stay fresh, cheese bags. Boom!